Welcome to the Spectators Podcast. Here are your hosts, Corey and Jeff.
Welcome, spectators, to an exciting episode 40. We've hit the 40s, Corey.
We just talked about this a few episodes ago, and that 40 crept up really fast, and now we're on our road to 50. You like that? You like that?
Road to WrestleMania. I like it.
I wonder if
yes.
we can hit 50 by the time around when we hit WrestleMania. I think that'll be
if the stories continue like they did at Royal Rumble, I think we're gonna have to.
Yeah.
So I wonder what we're gonna talk about. No, totally joking. Royal Rumble was yesterday. It was 4.5 hours. It's my first Royal Rumble, so it was really excited. So before we get into it, please, we're on YouTube, so please hit the like button. Give us a thumbs up, and as Roman Reigns would say, smash the little notification button for us, please, so you can see when our new videos come out, and then subscribe on our audio side, which is Apple Podcasts and Spotify. But Corey, we need to talk about the Royal Rumble, and Corey, we need to talk about the end of the Royal Rumble, because it has the internet afire, and that is it wasn't even the match we need to talk about. It was the last 15 minutes of
the last
post-match.
overtime. I felt like it was.
Yeah, it's the post-match we need to talk about, and it is the cinematic WWE cinematic universe, I guess we can call it, because it was more about the end match was more about this last 15 minutes than the match itself. Actually, we kind of really started by the end of the match when Roman was starting to really brutalize Kevin. So I know you have your thoughts on it, and lots of people have lots of thoughts on this, into my opinion, incredible segment, and what I thought was going to happen, which was Sami Zayn turns on Roman Reigns. The Bloodline officially kicks Sami Zayn out.
Yes, and I want to talk about this in three different kind of shadings or levels that we'll go with. I want to talk about what happened, what the predictions are, which direction this will lead into, because I think there's a lot of people who are interested in thinking, where will this go now? Because they will have different directions, and then how will this end? So how will this full Bloodline Roman Reigns title reign, etc. end? So I kind of want to talk about it in three different ways. Do you want me to go forward first? Yeah. So
you go.
All right. My take was, you come off an interesting match and you go directly into a segment, which I don't think I've ever seen before. I don't think I've ever seen a pay-per-view end where there's that long of segment. I kind of figured we were going to cut off show at about 9 o'clock, and we got an extra almost half an hour till about almost 9:30 of just complete storytelling. Where should I start? Really, this is a tough one, but there was a lot of shades of what we talked about prior to the show. We knew there was a bit of Jey involved in here. We knew there was a bit of Sami involved in here, and then the overall relationship of the Bloodline. And I will start by saying this. I think that the steps that happened were necessary steps. I liked the way that it played out. Mm-hmm. I actually like how it played out in terms of the steps in comparison to what I expected. And what I mean is, it started out with basically, let's take down Kevin. Let's end this Kevin Owens problem for good. Mm-hmm. We kind of knew that was going to happen, and that's great. He gets attacked, etc., and then we move on to Roman kind of pulling that final test, and that are you part of our family? Can we trust you? You need to take that, kind of like that final blow to Kevin Owens. And as Roman was about to take that blow, Kevin stopped. I'm sorry, Sami
Sammy
stopped him.
stopped him.
And then Roman's like, "You're right. You know what? I shouldn't do this. This should be you doing this." And Sami couldn't pull through, and he turned on Roman. It was an interesting event because I was really unsure of what step they could go and how Sami would turn, and I think it was done in a very really well done way.
Well written, absolutely.
Well written. Sami turning on Roman was shades of 2013 or 14 when Seth Rollins took the chair to the back of Roman Reigns. And as soon as Roman gave him the chair, the way he handed him the chair, the way Sami took the chair, he took a second to think, to look, to play out almost his plan of attack. He was thinking about it for minutes of how do
as soon as Sami had that chair, you could see, and like the camera shot was perfect because you had it where Roman was
his back was turned.
His back was turned to him already, and you can see Sami looking at Roman, looking at and you the thought I was like, oh my god, is he gonna hit Roman? No way.
I thought so, and it was almost like the exact replica of how
Rollins broke the shield up.
Hit Roman and broke the shield up, and Roman, funny enough, almost fell down to a T the exact same way that he did.
I think that was intentional.
It was intentional.
I think that was absolutely intentional.
And I'm going to take it back for a moment. I'm going to take it back to the match. If you kept your eye on Sami, which I did for most of the match, I didn't actually pay attention to the match as much as I was paying attention to the outside.
Because we know who's going to win the bloody match, right? Like the match, it was never about the match.
It was never about the match. And Sami, again, just with his emotions, just his facial expressions and his actions, really told the story throughout the match. And I could see he was really on the fence during a lot of that match. Like he was like, oh yeah, I want Roman to win, but I'm really having a hard time seeing Kevin.
He told Sami to stay. He told Kevin to stay down. He was like, just stop, like, please. He did.
And Roman didn't hear what he said there. He didn't hear him.
He didn't.
And that was just like you said, WWE CU, the cinematic universe of the WWE. It was beautiful. And just seeing Sami's overall motivation for Roman Reigns to win, changing to his compassion for Kevin getting hurt, was a really interesting twist throughout the match. The where it really struck me was after he got speared through the barricade, and then Roman had those almost grotesque slams of the head back onto the stairs.
Staring right at Sami as he did it.
Where you saw Sami's face like almost grimace in pain. That's where you really could see Sami was like, I can't handle seeing Kevin get hurt this badly. So that was story enough into its own that I knew what was going to happen next, and Sami was going to stand up for Kevin. It was really interesting too, because you kind of figured at some point that if like prior to the match, like days ago, you would think if they were attacking Kevin, that Sami would just go in and just protect him in a way of just attacking and kind of being barbaric about it, and he didn't. It was that's why I say the way that it was put out was even better than I expected, because it wasn't
very
strategic,
and very mafia-esque, right?
But I mean, even on Sami's point, from his perspective, he didn't do it in a barbaric way. He didn't just like go in full emotions. He like was strategic about the way that he hit Roman, and that was amazing, honestly.
It fits with the storyline too. It's like this entire storyline is all about subtlety, right?
Yeah.
And like there's little moments here, little moments there, facial expression here, facial expression there, and that's what how the entire thing ended was subtle, right? Like you think maybe it would happen, you think it wouldn't happen, right? And then it subtly just went to, where it ended up, where Sami hit him, right? And it was, I think that probably got one, if not the biggest pop of the night. Again, which if you really think about it, it's the Royal Rumble, and that got the biggest pop of the night. That tells you just how amazing this storyline has been told, right? Because it's not even a match; it's an end segment, right? So.
Yeah.
You can tell just how well they have done this storyline. Is that the biggest pop of the night, and also the biggest heat of the night with the "Fu Roman" chants. It happened in an end segment after almost 4 hours of people watching wrestling, which usually you're tired at that point, right? I can only imagine being there for 4 hours. I was tired sitting at home watching that, but being in that stadium for that long, that's how good it was. The audience was so gripped in this story.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. Honestly, like it was so riveting to watch what happened, but we'll get into a little bit of like what I didn't like about it. There were just some points in the match and in the end segment that I just thought were a little. And I mean, I know it's storytelling, but WWE often doesn't go this far, where there were a little bit of a like gang beating kind of gang violence feeling to it, where like they handcuffed him to the
Ropes.
ring, and they just kept kicking his face and kept kicking his face and kept kicking his face. And love the storytelling, but you remember there are kids and everyone watching, and I thought this was a little bit over the top and excessive. And I don't know if I'm the only one, but I felt like you could have done it in a little bit more tasteful way than handcuffing a defenseless man that can't move to then kick him in the face. I think I counted like 25 times or something, but it is what it is.
Very mafia. It's a mafia thing, right? And I think that's what it changed.
But it gave more heat to them, right? And I think not only did it build heat to Roman, but it actually probably built more heat to Jimmy and Jey and Solo.
Well, everyone.
Too. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's like, to my knowledge of watching the Bloodline grow, it was never really seen as a mafia, right? I really only started this way as soon as Sami kind of came in, because Sami has always been a face in this group, right? He's done some heelish stuff, but I've always seen Sami as a face acting as a heel. He's never been his true self, right? And Kevin kept telling him that, like, this is not you. Playing a game here, I get it. Okay, fine, you backstab me, but really, this is not you, right? And why that? It was hard to watch. I don't think you're the only one that thinks that, right? Like, you don't really see this a lot, right? But I think they had to take it there to really show the audience that Sami, this is not him, right? Like, this is the Bloodline, maybe outside of Jey, although Jey kind of joined in actually well on top of it
for the Kevin part, yeah.
We'll right. So get to that. Like, I do think they had to take some risks here, right? And I mean, Bray's match, they took a ton of risk, right?
They took a few risks in the entire pay-per-view, and we'll get to those other ones later on too.
Right. So I as hard as it was to watch in some essences, as hard as to see something like that, I think it was so necessary to get the reaction they needed, right? To really see it was showing what Sami wasn't willing to do, right? Because he was willing to do some of the cheap heel stuff, right? Like, low blow Kevin, do the haluva kick, right? Throw him have a match against him,
but he
right?
wasn't willing to beat him to a pulp. Really,
he wasn't going to go that far, right? And I think it showed you, right? Like, Roman was like in his face, pushing him, right? Just like really pushing him to his limit. And really, the only thing he did was just hit Roman with a chair, and then he laid the chair down and said, "Sorry, but I can't do this," and then took his beating, right? Like, that's as far as he will go, right?
What I found really interesting is when he hit Roman with that chair, the entire Bloodline waited. They paused. They waited for Sami's performance to show how he can even make more of this story. And do you notice how he turned his body immediately to Jey? That was amazing. He turned his body
because Jey was the one that defended him twice. He defended him at the court, and then at the pre-show when they did the gathering, Jey shut up for him.
Jey's face and Jey's like emotion at that point was like, you just hit Roman and I know I need to hit you back, but I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to defend you like a brother after to hit you because I've just defended you like a brother. And he looked at Jey. Jey just tensed his whole body up, couldn't like
Went
bring
right into
himself
the
to do
corner.
it. And as soon as he did, and they took the camera off, like Jimmy super kicked him right down to the ground. And then then Solo comes in and grabs him and
The Samoan Spike.
the Samoan
But I think
Spike,
the
yeah.
essence too of the shock of the Bloodline is no one's ever stood up to Roman, right? Jey did, but then he lost, right? And everyone's been in line since, right? And if you kind of see the progression of his story, Sami has gone against Roman multiple times, and Roman forgave him because he was trying to manipulate him, right, to help him with Owens. So there's a shock factor for the Bloodline because, like, holy moly, he actually hit Roman, right? They haven't seen that. I can't remember the last match that Jay's had with Roman, but it's been a long time, right?
It's been at least 2 years, I'd say. Yeah.
Right? So, and I think that's this segment is incredible because everyone played such a good role. But like, the top three are, of course, Roman. Like he's fantastic. And there's Sami, but then there's Jey, right? Jey is the other superstar here out of this whole thing, right? Because he rolls out of the ring. He's so conflicted. And this is what you and I were talking about in our prediction video.
We played this out. Like,
Yeah.
This was the only thing lacking from our storyline was The Rock. Everything else played out to a T.
But it was so good you didn't need The Rock, right? Like, that's how incredible it was that, like, you didn't have Stone Cold, you didn't have The Rock, which I think in a normal year with the speculation that was had would have really soured this pay-per-view, but it really didn't.
Yeah,
they did so well with it.
The Rock being involved in this storyline would have just been icing on the cake. Like, it was a totally a spot that he could have validity wise he could have came in, but they didn't even need it because everything else played out so to a T that it just was fine. And you know what? Like, the thing is, Jey got out of that ring without hesitation. And that's what I thought was interesting. Like, the whole Bloodline was staring at him like, go, hit him, do it. Like, it's your turn to hit him and take him out. And Jey got out of that ring without a single second of hesitation. He looked at Roman and he's like, his eyes looked right through Roman like, I'm done with you. I'm done with this.
Or just major confliction. He was
but he wasn't conflicted because he didn't even sense about hitting Sami. That's what I mean. He wasn't conflicted over hitting Sami. He got out of the ring
a little bit. He rolled out and you can just tell like he's like I know I should be attacking Sami right now.
Yeah.
But this is the key. Like, and it's so great. Again, the WWE cinematic universe. And probably why some people say wrestling is a soap opera, but you can hit people, is that, like, he said on Monday on the Raw that he saw the good in me. Sami Zayn saw the good in me and didn't give up on me. And now Sami has put him in this conflicting situation, and Jey couldn't do it. He just had to roll out and think about it for a while, right? And like, what was so great about that was then Roman's reaction after that, just attacking Sami, because it's, for him, it's like he got hit by Sami, how dare he? And then now he's one of his person he worked so hard to get into the Bloodline has now gone back to a place where he doesn't know if he wants to be in the Bloodline anymore.
Yeah, and the when he walked up that ramp, the facial expression I felt Jey was showing was not so much I'm conflicted about hitting Sami. His confliction, to me, from my perspective, this is solely just my perspective, his confliction was really about fear. Like, I know what I didn't do. I know what I was supposed to do, and I didn't do it. And now I have concern that, oh man, I messed up. I screwed up.
There's that, but it's also the pain of, like, he was the one before all the beatdown happened was like, here, Roman, make Sami a member of the Bloodline. He was super excited to have in his mind, his brother into the Bloodline, and now that's not going to happen, and he doesn't know what to do. So it's going to make for, like you said, I think we can head into the third segment here of what is next. I think everybody is asking that question, right? Because everyone at first thought maybe you put Sami in the Rumble and you have him win, and then you have him go to WrestleMania. So I think the biggest question I am wondering is you have Elimination Chamber coming up in Montreal. That is Sami Zayn's hometown. So a match there would make sense. Or has the storyline gotten so big that you've sort of booked yourself into a corner where this has to be a WrestleMania match, especially now that The Rock is not going to be involved in this storyline.
Yeah. So yeah, you're exactly right. I think there's a lot of speculation about. Well, first let's say this: there was a lot of plans, I think, from the WWE to have this roll into Elimination Chamber. Sami have his match. Sami likely lose because for some reason they want to continue protecting Roman, and they continue to do so. But I think you saw that reaction from the crowd last night. They didn't give a damn about the tribal chief. From the beginning of that match, all they could chant was Sami Uso the entire time.
He has made himself, put himself in that conversation.
Exactly.
Like he needs a belt.
And they booed Roman the entire time of that segment, that after segment. And as soon as Sami hit Roman with that chair, that pop was massive. So it makes you question, if you are Triple H and you want to make a good decision that's going to have less long-term ramifications of people being pissed off at you and you have to correct things, you make Sami face Roman at some point. I'm saying at some point because I think there's still confliction here. Now, you could have him go to Montreal and go to Elimination Chamber and win. And the pop from the crowd would be probably the biggest pop I think they've ever got since, forever probably. And that's one option. But they also had this idea in the bag that maybe we have Sami and Kevin go together and go against the Usos. But I think that story is almost ruined because of Jey's relationship with Sami. They have to either. Now there are some people who are saying that Jey's going to ultimately turn on Sami and just, follow the Bloodline's orders. But I feel like if you want to tell story, it doesn't make a lot of sense for Jey to just forget everything he was just feeling and just go ahead and attack Sami. I feel like there has to be some confliction on Jey's relationship with Roman and what he's going to do next. It's going to mess up things with Jimmy. It's going to mess up his whole relationship with the Bloodline. And this is ultimately how we see the Usos lose the titles. It only makes sense to me, regardless of if they're to Kevin and Sami or if they're to anyone else.
So here's my conundrum though.
Mm-hmm.
Is I feel if Kevin and Sami win the tag belts, it's you've built this story so up, it would just feel like a massive letdown. Yes, they're tag champs, that's fantastic, but you've put Sami right beside Roman, literally right beside him for months, and he has shown not only can he be with Roman, he can hang with him in a promo, he can be above him in a promo, and he can also lift Roman up in a promo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've really shown that he is top card level. So if you have him lose to Roman, I feel like it's going to be like almost a Daniel Bryan-esque type of letdown. Because he has such a, like you said, the entire Bloodline comes out. Yes, the ones go up, but guess what they're saying right after that's all done? It's Sami Uso, Sami Zayn. Like, he is so over with this crowd that if you do a tag belt thing, I think it's a consolation prize. I don't know if
I agree with you there.
Oh, it's good enough, right? And so my question is like, do you do it in Montreal, or
do you do it at WrestleMania?
Because I do feel like if Roman's going to lose the Universal Championship, or the WWE one's a bit still confusing to me. I don't know if he's even going to have it by Mania. That's still up in the air, which I don't think he should, because then you have the Rhodes problem, which we'll get to in a little bit.
We'll get to in a second, yeah.
So, but that's my question: is where are we at now? Are we okay with Elimination Chamber just because it's in Montreal, or does it have to be a Mania now?
Well, it's interesting because you look at it this way: you're going to put him in Montreal, which is in the Bell Center, right? Bell Center holds what? Let's say 20,000 max.
A little less, because you
A
have
little less,
to
but I'm just
take
giving a
suits
number.
out.
I'm just
Yeah,
giving a number. So around 20K, probably like 18,500 or something like
that
that. So
sounds right.
like, if you look at it that way, you're gonna get a good pop. Yeah, you're gonna get a Montreal pop, and that's fantastic. To me, there's no one better than a Canadian crowd. They don't get it very often. I've talked about this on previous podcasts. They don't get it a lot, and they just give off that energy like we really want it because we don't get it. And having someone like a hometown hero win it there, it would be massive. Of
Be in the
course.
top moments of WWE history, probably.
Despite that, you have a WrestleMania crowd of 100,000 people,
LA.
and it's in LA. And that regardless of where Sammy's going at this point, as long as he can hold on to that over with the crowd, which I think he can till WrestleMania, you're gonna have a pop of 100,000 people, and that's a lot bigger than a 20,000 crowd in Montreal. So there's question there of you heard. I don't know if you watched the press conference and Triple H talk about some of the merch sales and other things externally to WWE. But you gotta imagine that you're gonna have Sammy win. You want him to win in WrestleMania. It's a Eddie Guerrero-esque story. It's a Chris Benoit-esque story. And I know there's question about Chris Benoit and all that, but all that aside, it's those moments that someone wins and they kind of have that chance to win, and the crowd has just been so over with that character that when they win, there is just that energy in the crowd that you just don't get every day.
You almost
And it's
wonder
that one
if,
often, yeah.
almost wonder if you flip it. The tag match, even if you don't, it doesn't. It actually, to me, it doesn't need belts. You put the tag match of KO and Sami Zayn versus the Usos in Montreal. They win, and it doesn't matter if it's for belts or not to me, because the storyline is strong enough. You don't actually need the tag belts, because who knows? Maybe the Usos might not even have the tag belts at that point, right? Because now there's clear confliction between them, right? And how can you tag with your brother when you just walked out on him, right? Anyways, that's a whole nother great storyline.
Well, and you also got to imagine that the brutality of last night, Kevin Owens may not even be ready for Elimination Chamber. He got beat up pretty bad. He might not even be ready for WrestleMania.
He could return.
He could return at WrestleMania even. You never know. You may be.
So ideally, let's say KO is healthy. You have the tag match in Montreal, and you have them win, and that win solidifies Sami Zayn's claim to face Roman at WrestleMania. I think that's how you got to do it, because I just feel the tag part now it's secondary, right? Yeah, you do have a Sami Jey thing that's going to have to be a heartbreak for both of them, right? Because as you said, who did Sami look to as soon as he hit Roman? It was Jey. So I think that's how you got to play it now.
And
because
here's another thing with Sami too that I'll bring up before I forget this. Sami Zayn had an interview with Ariel Helwani just recently, right? And something that he brought up, very true fact that he brought up to himself, is he understands that he is not a face of the company. He's not that picturesque face that WWE looks, that they want to portray what WWE is, and I get that. But sometimes you got to make decisions where people win because of crowd reactions, and they are going to have opportunities because of how over they are with the crowd. Sami doesn't need to hold on to the title for.
He can lose it at Backlash. He could literally lose it at Backlash, and that would totally be okay.
Sami could win it in Montreal. I'm just saying, for the pop, and lose it on Monday, and crowd wouldn't care, because at the end of the day, he had his opportunity that he deserved to be a world champion. That's how over he is with the crowd. It's not going to change if he loses the title. They're still going to love him. So he doesn't need to hold on to it for a long time. Whereas Roman, he really needed to hold on to the titles for a long time, because he wasn't solidified in WWE for a long time, no matter how much Vince wanted to push him. He really needed to go through this run to be like, oh yeah, okay, he's in that GOAT conversation. Because prior to this, he was never in any GOAT conversation, let me tell you, Roman Reigns. So, I don't even care if Sami wins the title, holds onto it for a few months, and loses it at some point. That isn't the point. It's just for Sami to be the one to dethrone Roman, even if it's of one title, even if it's of one of them. It doesn't matter. It has to happen at this point, because WWE, it's almost like the wrestlers are like stocks. And when you have a lot of stock in one person,
It's a good analogy.
And you have a lot of stock in one person, their stock is high. Sami Zayn's stock is highest it's ever been and probably ever will be.
Exactly.
Take advantage of it now, and when it dies down,
sell before the stock falls.
Right? And then you get your Bobby Lashley, you get your Roman Reigns, you get your Drew McIntyre, whoever the hell you need to at that point to take over and be the face of the company for that time being.
Absolutely.
That's all I think. So I think regardless of if you do it, my analysis is regardless of if you do it at Elimination Chamber to get Montreal crowd or you do it at WrestleMania, it has to happen at some point.
Yeah.
He needs to pull one of those titles off Roman, if not both of them, but it should be at least one of them.
Yeah, I agree. So let's move on because there's quite a surprisingly we still have 4 more matches to talk about. 2 which we'll probably won't spend too much time on, but
I really want to move on, and I hope you're okay with this, but I really want to move on to the pitch black match because it's a shorter match. There's not a whole lot to talk about, but there were some interesting cues in that match that I think are worth telling.
It's funny actually. Some people actually made some jokes that we didn't get Naomi, but we got a glow type of match. So
I liked that. I thought it was cool. I think
it was the best way you could do like a pitch black type of thing,
right?
Because you can't have the lights out. You got to see the performers, right?
You look at the Mountain Dew logo and the for pitch black and the advertisement. It all the color scheme fit perfectly, but I felt like it was a really fun way to do something and make it kind of creepy, but not be like black and you can't see anything. It was fun. I liked it. The match itself was pretty fun. I felt like it was too short-lived. It really kind of buried LA Knight really quickly.
I think they had to cut the 2 mid-card matches because I think the Rumbles went an hour and a half,
and the Women's Rumble was a little long too. But I mean, I feel bad for LA Knight losing that match so fast. Now this happened twice last night where these are big matches. Like the pitch black match there was months put into this, and the Bianca match as well. There was a little bit put into this, and it was a title match. These matches are supposed to be important in pay-per-views, and when you have somebody doesn't kick out and just goes through one easy finisher and loses the match is a little too quick for me, but that's okay. That's besides the point.
Well, it was the second match where it was more probably about the end of the match,
yeah,
right?
exactly,
and the stuff that happened after versus the actual match itself, which made sense. And they had some cool spots, like the table spot. I like how the kendo stick was glow in the dark.
It had glow sticks on it, so everybody was like trying to. We were all trying to figure out like what's going on with all this like splatter of like glow stuff. I think the glow sticks were breaking and then the fluid was going all over the ground. I was trying to figure out what it was that was on the table. You know how like when they went through the table and then everything went everywhere? I was trying to figure out the entire time, what is it? Paper, confetti, whatever. It was popcorn, I think. And that's why it was glowing. It was getting thrown everywhere. So because I saw what threw me off was when they went into the crowd and went a little bit out, there were other spots where there was just this like white yellowy glow stuff all over the ground. It's popcorn, that's why. So it glowed. And then the telltale of all of this, the match was, I'd give it a good 2 or 3 out of 10. It wasn't the greatest.
It wasn't, yeah,
but
I agree.
But
visual was cool.
But the visual was cool. That was fun. I really liked that. Something new too. What I liked was, Uncle Howdy came out. He finally attacked someone. Like he did a move of his own. He jumped off the top. He completely botched it. I don't know if you noticed that, but he missed LA Knight by a good meter.
I think that was intentional.
I think it was intentional. Yeah.
I think he had to miss him so then LA Knight could then fall in to whatever hole it was.
I also think that was triggered for the fire too. Somehow they landed, that's when the fire would trigger.
Sure, LA Knight wasn't gonna get hit by the pilot.
Yeah, exactly. But Uncle Howdy came out, he did that, and then what really was telltale to me was you don't see LA Knight, you don't see Uncle Howdy anymore, but what you do is they pan up, they look at the top, and the other Firefly Funhouse characters were looming over the top. I don't know if
Oh,
you saw
I missed that.
Yeah. So at
Really?
the top, yeah. So there was a creepy. So Bray had his mask on, because when
Yeah.
he turned around and he put the other mask on after the match, and then after Uncle Howdy jumped down, they kind of panned the camera to kind of look towards Bray upwards. And if you look behind Bray, it was very dark. You didn't see them well, but there was like kind of these looming characters above, and it was like
Fire.
Pig,
Oh, that's cool. I didn't see that.
yeah, so it was the Firefly Funhouse characters that were
More
kind of
subtlety. This WWE under Triple H is all about subtlety.
It's all about very, very subtle things, right? And I saw those, and I think that what that telltale sign of that match was, we're gonna see somebody else come out next. So Uncle Howdy's kind of been introduced as
Probably
the
the Elimination Chamber.
We'll see somebody. So that's kind of all I had to say about that match, because it went by really fast. But I mean, it was a cool concept that we never saw before. So something new and fresh, which was good. You go for it and choose what other match you want to talk about. If you want to talk about the Rumbles, or do you just want to go to the Bianca match?
The Bianca matches were there's not much to talk about. I was pretty disappointed by it, to be honest. I did like I said in the preview, I liked some of the Bliss offense. Like, it was nice to see her actually get in some actual offense on Bianca and make her seem like a legit contender. But then it just ended so quickly.
She got buried at the end. It was easy.
I didn't like it, but
I don't know if you remember back when like John Cena was in his prime, and the guy couldn't every single time won a clean, easy win and never really had to try almost. And I think it pissed a lot of the internet community off, because they're just like, this guy can't lose, everything's clean. Like, Roman's when he's winning because he's cheating, he's getting other people involved. Like, he's never winning cleanly. And Bianca's kind of showing me that same thing. Like, everything she does is just very textbook cookie cutter kind of win. And she won this match where like Bianca had some offense, and then all of a sudden, Alexa had some offense, and then all of a sudden Bianca hits her finisher and it's over. Like, there was no build up to it being over. It was just over. And I was just like, wait, like, the match is over? And I was like, okay. So the match itself was probably like another 2 out of 10 for me. It wasn't very good.
Yeah, it's just quick.
But the end segment was... It was
again, it was more about the after. Like, it seemed like all 3 matches outside of the Rumbles were about the after story.
Yeah,
right?
But my problem with the after story with this one is it wasn't even that great. Like, it was another just same thing we kind of seen on Raw. Like, Uncle Howdy coming out and saying, "Do you feel in charge now?" And that more or less was kind of it. We didn't really see a whole lot of what's next for Alexa. I think we will see her kind of connect with Bray shortly. Like, they'll be involved, Bray, her, Uncle Howdy, whatever. But again, no sign of who Uncle Howdy is. No sign of what's next with that group. And I think that the problem with that is this is something that Bray came back in October. This is his first match since October. Uncle Howdy's been teased. Bo Dallas has been teased about seeing in the background. Yada, yada, yada. All of these things. Wyatt 6. And that's all you could give us for 4 months build-up? Is a little lackluster. A little bit.
Yes and no. Like, I'm giving Bray Wyatt, Alexa, I'm giving all these people the benefit of the doubt, because I feel like there's like, as we got a bit of a tease, right? Like, he had a 6 on his head, Bray did, and then you saw the Fireflies. Like, I think they're really slow burning this.
Which it's a little too slow of a burn, but
I know I think it can be hard for some people, but like, I think sometimes even they get a little. Like, I think they have a plan, and I think sometimes they'll jump it a bit because the fans are getting a bit tired of it.
There's a restlessness, right? Because you don't want to see someone like, I think a lot of fans like Alexa, and they don't want to see her continue to lose, right? Every time,
especially the way she can cut promos, like the talent she has. It's hard to see her been put in the shelf like this, but like, I think if they do it proper this time, right? Like, Bray made it very clear in his interview before Rumble that, like, the Fiend is gone, and as you saw, that he has a brand new mask, right? So I'm hoping with this, whatever they're doing, which is brand new, And they're going to be innovative. Obviously, look at the Pitch Black match, right? Like, they're going to be trying some new stuff. It might not work. Not everyone loved the Pitch Black match. It actually didn't get that good of a review. I agree with Bray at the press conference. He's like, you know what? It's wrestling. Like, let's try something, right? It might not work. Okay, then we sort of learn from it and move on, right? And it's nice that you have someone like Triple H, who I think is more willing to try some of the stuff, where I think Vince was a little bit less hesitant to do that, right? Like, so I'm encouraged. I'm willing to give it the what's it? We're in almost February, so what? March. So 2 more months till Mania. So I think Mania, we're gonna get the Wyatt 6 faction revealed. So can I wait 2 months? Probably. And then just we need to see who it's going to be in, because the one person I'm super curious about is Liv Morgan, because when Bray first came back, they had a bunch of the Fireflies behind her when she first came back, and it seemed like that's gone away now. So I don't know if they've changed direction, or it's just sort of like it's in the back burner because they're going to build that story later.
And I think there may be some loose ends they're trying to tie up too, because it sounds like, there may be potential ideas about, some NXT talent coming up, but there's also some potential ideas about individuals coming back to WWE that might be part of the Wyatt 6. I think Eric Rowan is one of them, who's currently signed with AEW. So I think there may be some loose ends that they need to tie up before they can finalize this Wyatt 6, which is maybe why they're taking a little bit of time. But what I'm hoping is 2 things. We see Alexa in a little bit more matches, and we see Bray in a little bit more matches leading up to WrestleMania. I don't want to see Bray have only promos until WrestleMania and then finally have a WrestleMania match. I think that will lose interest in a lot of fans for a while. If you're gonna,
I just kind of wonder where they go next, hey?
Yeah.
Like, what happens? Go? Like, who does Knight now feud with, and
who does Knight feud with? But you know what? Knight is so over with the crowd. Like, it doesn't matter that he lost this match. I feel like he can go on and have a feud with anyone on the roster, and he's such a good talker. He showed through this whole time he can hold his own. He can hold his own. I just want to see a bit. I don't know about you, but I want to see a bit more of his in-ring talent. I didn't watch him in NXT. When he's had matches up in WWE, it's been jobbers, and we didn't really get a lot of chance to see. But then he got squashed by Bray.
Yeah, who he fought Mansoor.
Yeah, jobbers. So he kind of got squashed by Bray a little quick, and again, due to the timing of everything. But, I want to see him have a good match, against like a Sheamus or a Drew or someone who's like he can actually have to like face.
Yeah, the Intercontinental title I think is perfect for him. I think
even the US title, if you throw him on Raw, I don't really care.
He seems to be slated for the Money in the Bank, but that's as we can see, it can swerve pretty quick.
We're way too far out for Money in the Bank. With this Triple H regime, I find that we can speculate all we want about Money in the Bank, but we're way too far out. Now, if we were still in the Vince regime, we would know the story already by this point. Because Vince that's true. Is very telltale. So let's move on to one of the Rumbles.
Let's do the men's. Let's do the men's, because I think I really like the women's better. So let's do the men's. So what'd you think? There was only 3 surprises, one was Booker T, Logan Paul, who we thought was Madcap Moss, so I was happy about that, and then Edge. Those are your 3 surprises after we thought Stone Cold was coming back, NJ Great Muta, Jay White. So there was quite a bit of letdown, I feel, from this match, even though I feel the match itself was actually quite good. As my first Rumble, so it was actually quite the experience for me. To sort of see how it went. So I'm curious, as you've watched many Rumbles, how did you feel about the men's match?
I think the honesty behind a Rumble match is it's hard to make a Rumble match bad. It's hard to make a Rumble match bad.
Outside of last year, apparently.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that was. But it's hard to make a Rumble match bad because you have to look at the match from minute 0 to minute 60.
Never ended, yeah.
Or whenever it ends.
Right? 70 for Gunther.
Yes. But you know what I mean? You have to really look at it from the perspective of the whole match and for what it is. It's a fun match with a lot of things happening at once. You get to see so many talent, like, show off, do things, have fun. And it's a fun match. It's enjoyable, right?
Was,
You're always
yeah,
on your
absolutely.
toes. You're always on your toes because you never know. Even though you know who's in the Rumble, you never know when
You
they're
don't know
going to go.
who's coming. Absolutely.
And that's why you're always kind of on your toes and you're waiting for that buzzer to hit. Now, the match on the men's side started a bit slow in my opinion. They kind of played it in a way that they brought out a lot of the lower card talent out first, the mid card talent. And then for some reason we hit that 10 to 15 mark. And then all the big guns came out. We saw Brock Lesnar come out. We saw Lashley come out. We saw Seth come out. And I looked at it and I was kind of like, why are all of these big names coming out like right now instead of towards the end? But and you know, I think they could have mixed it up better. They could have had like someone big start, someone big come in the middle, and you know, Cody finish. That's fine. They went the opposite route of what we thought. Cody came out at 30. I thought he kind of would have come out with one, but they did it perfectly. They ended the match extremely
I don't know if you
well.
saw his post-match stuff, but he said he was cleared as of that day.
Yeah.
Like he just got cleared. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why they made him 30. I thought maybe they would do a 1 and show the heroic story, which they did with Gunther actually. And I think he actually did. Gunther's my guy, as you know. I thought it was a nice put. What I literally like about the Rumble is that you can actually have a guy lose but push him, and the fact that Gunther went 70 minutes.
There's a clear idea of how Triple H feels about Gunther. I know you're a Gunther guy. I'm not. I'm on the other side of the spectrum. I think the guy still botches a lot of crap. I think but he did get 60, 70 minutes to actually show me that he is more talented than I thought he was. Okay. He picked up Braun Strowman and threw Braun Strowman, and I was like, okay, he's stronger than I thought. But he needs to fill out a bit. I think he looks kind of funny being that
he's very
really
lean,
tall,
right?
big guy and really thin. He needs to fill out a bit. Because you see him against guys like Braun Strowman, and you're like, oh yeah, he's pretty tall and pretty big, but he's so skinny. Then did your mom feed you? Like, I don't know. I just look at him funny. And it's coming from a guy who actually, he was a little bit overweight in NXT, and he ended up coming in and putting in a lot of work to lose the weight, which is good. I commend him for that. I want to see him put on some more muscle mass, kind of like Dom. And we'll get to Dom in a second, because I think this is really interesting. But, you know, I kind of figured Rhea would come into this match, and she didn't, which is fine. But there wasn't, like you said, there wasn't a lot of big surprises. But one of the things, there was a couple things that I found interesting. One of them was the poster prior to the match that showed like 5 missing competitors, and it showed everyone else that was in the match. Madcap Moss was on that poster.
It was a red herring.
And he didn't even show up. So I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I don't think he was ever going to be in. I think it was for Logan Paul. It was a bit of
it was like, okay, we just kind of lied to the crowd to have... It was a little bizarre to me. It's like, if you're going to have Logan Paul, maybe have Logan Paul come in because Madcap Moss couldn't do the match. But it was just a little bit weird that Madcap Moss was in it. I'm just saying, I would have rather had Madcap Moss in the match than some of the other competitors we had in the match. So, you know, it's... I'm just spitting teeth here at the end of the day. So anyways, we'll move forward from that. But what I found interesting is we hit number 17, and Rey Mysterio's music hits, and number 18 comes out, and Dominic Mysterio comes out with Rey's mask.
His mask, yep.
So it shows you that he attacked Rey behind backstage.
I think that's how they're going to play it in kayfabe. Apparently, he got hurt on Friday against Karrion.
But what I also don't understand is you actually had a elimination, or a Royal Rumble with only 29 competitors because you didn't bring someone to replace Rey.
Yeah, we thought maybe Corbin was going to get replaced after Brock had his tantrum.
I thought so too. So that was also another thing of like, why didn't you have Madcap come in at that point then? Why didn't you have someone come into that spot? Because you could, theoretically, you know how the internet community can be sometimes, the wrestling community can be sometimes. They could say Cody's win was not fair because there was not 29 other competitors, but only 28. I'm just saying because people do complain about this, but nobody cares. But I just thought it was weird because usually in those cases, like I remember a couple of years ago, I can't remember who it was that got hurt. Maybe Carmella or something like that. And then Becky Lynch is like, oh, she's hurt. she's hurt, like put me in. And then she ended up getting in the Rumble, even though she wasn't supposed to be in the Rumble. So I kind of figured something like that would happen for Ray, especially since nothing like that happened for Corbin, which oh man, that guy.
But it's Baron Corbin. I mean,
that guy.
it shows you how they feel about him, I guess. Eh?
That guy. Let me take a second to give some props to Baron Corbin, because I think he deserves it. Baron Corbin is apparently the most liked guy in the locker room.
That makes sense.
And I look at his career in WWE, and like he's pretty talented. But man, what he gives to WWE is just unbelievable. Like
or like John Cena, I'll do whatever you want.
He basically got pummeled by Seth, or by Brock. Sorry, he got pummeled by Brock. To then Seth walk out, and I thought he was gonna get stomped, and he didn't. But Seth throws him back in the ring, and eliminates him in a second.
It's very Chelsea Green-esque almost. Which
Chelsea
we'll get
Green
to that in a bit. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was. So I felt a little bit bad for Baron Corbin, but you know what? At that point, right around when Seth came out, and Dom was in, and then Finn came out, and then Damian Priest came out, started getting interesting. Judgment Day got in,
and then Edge came out.
But something I didn't hit on was Lesnar came out a lot earlier than I expected.
And got eliminated a lot earlier than I expected, too.
And got eliminated by Lashley.
Tantrum was fantastic. I love seeing that. Everyone was so terrified.
The tantrum, and then Lashley got eliminated quite quick, too, and I wasn't expecting that.
Well, and it makes sense when you see the end. It was all about Cody. That's what it was, right?
They didn't want the big guys in the end of the match.
This entire Rumble was about Gunther, of course, because he was the last one standing, and Cody gave him props. He's like, oh, it was great being number 30 until he had to face Gunther. But I do want to focus really on the end, because I think like the end was cool. You got to see Seth actually team up with Cody, and then you had Logan Paul eliminate Seth, which is showing us that feud's done with, which is fantastic.
Yes. Well, they actually worked together through the match.
Exactly.
Which
and
I liked.
And Seth's a face now, right? So it wouldn't make sense.
But he did make a remark. I don't know if you noticed, but he's like, how's the pick?
Yeah. Which that's Seth for you, right?
Yeah.
And then, Cody eventually gets a thrilling elimination. You had the typical, like, oh, no, I'm falling, right? Like his feet are inches from there. Like it was a nice little dramatic way. And you can tell Gunther was tired, because when Cody had the final clothesline, he turned away so he would fall a bit better, because he was so exhausted, which I don't blame him. But really, what the men's winner, and I said to you before this happened, was now you've got a conundrum, in my opinion, because you have Roman, who
I have one more point to bring up before you get there.
Okay.
Because you have something. The way that they finished the match, though, was beautiful, because you have Gunther, who I believe now at this point he is the next major heel in the WWE. This is how they want to push him. They want to have him as the ultimate heel when Roman ultimately
actually
leaves.
Falls.
And Roman's going to leave WWE. Anyone who doesn't believe that is out of their minds right now. So you have Gunther, who the story shows he is a guy who will hold on to the titles a long time. He has a Bloodline-esque kind of faction, and he's the ultimate heel, and you have Cody as the ultimate face. And it gave Cody some resilience. He came back and he had to face Gunther, who's really tough competitor, and he still made it through, and he eliminated Gunther in such a nice, like, just it was a story tale ending. So I think just apart from that, they finished the match really well. I think it was really well done.
Absolutely. And this is where, like we talked about at the top, was now in my opinion, you got a booking problem.
You do.
Because you've got this super over face in Cody, who I agree with you. If he goes to Mania and he doesn't win, I think that's a massive problem. Then you have booked yourself this other super face in Sami Zayn, who both have equal claim to dethroning Roman Reigns, and both want to, right? So I think my hope is that if this is the case, they have to split the belts, in my opinion, because you cannot have You can have Zayn lose to Roman, fine. I think you can get away with that, especially if you have like I said, the consolation prize of the tag championships, right?
But you cannot have Cody lose,
That's
especially
a problem.
after this comeback.
Well, the
You
vignettes
can't
though,
have him.
when like
All
he like and the merch
you're
sales
pushing
like
him.
as the
You've been
number
pushing
one
him as soon as he
babyface.
came back. As soon as
Mm.
he came back from to WrestleMania last year, you've been pushing him. Everybody knew he was going to win that title. The story is too good. Having him talk about his dad, bringing all that history in, and there's too much there. Cody will not lose to Roman. There's no way.
So
If you do, you mess up big time.
that's why if they don't plan on Roman losing, you need to take the WWE belt off of him because that's the belt he wants. The belt Cody wants anyways.
So what do you think about this? There's two booking ways they could roll with this. They have opportunities easily. Cody is a definitive main event of WrestleMania. That's the stipulation with Royal Rumble. You're in the main event of WrestleMania. You get your title. Well, not necessarily main event. They listed it as title shot at WrestleMania.
Chip shot, yeah.
But still, he gets a championship shot at WrestleMania. So at WrestleMania, if you change that, it doesn't make sense. So it has to happen. There are two avenues they could do, because I don't think The Rock is going to be involved. I don't feel it.
I think that's
don't
pretty
see
clear
it.
now.
I think it's pretty clear. He's filming something new. I don't think he's going to be available.
Well, and the way you've now booked a Zayn and a Cody, clearly there's no room for The Rock here.
So I think they have two possible avenues, and that's one. You have Roman defend his Universal title or WWE title, but let's say Universal title at Elimination Chamber and lose it. And Roman loses his title to Sami Zayn, or because of Montreal, or you have that, him lose it to someone else. Maybe you have him, and maybe you have it be the WWE title, and maybe you have him lose it to someone else, right? And that splits the belt. We don't have to have an Elimination Chamber match set up for both belts. We can have it set up for one belt.
It could be like they could I could see them using the brutal beatdown that happened at Rumble as an excuse to strip him because they went too far, which as everyone's kind of saying. Yep. And then the EC match is for the WWE title, and then you save that opportunity for Seth I don't want to keep calling him Seth, Cody, and you can save the other match, right? Like you just if you're not planning on Roman losing, you got to get a belt off him because you cannot have Cody lose to Roman. It's just it's such a
or the second opportunity I think they have is they do what has been talked about for a long time, and they do a splitter match at WrestleMania. They have
night 1, night 2.
They do the WWE Championship on night 1 against Cody Rhodes. Cody beats him clean because it's got to be a clean victory for a face. And then you have Sami face him night 2 for the Universal title. Kevin Owens gets involved, and
Sami wins,
gets the title.
With The Rock not with The Rock not involved, that's more plausible. That what WWE is worried about is Roman, and I agree with that. Like that's a lot to put on Roman.
And then you shelf Roman for a while. I think you
shelf. The other thing I worry about it too is then you sort of bury the women's division too, right? Because that's going to main event both evenings. That means there's no women main event.
I would disagree. I would say that one of the nights, Ripley and whoever is going to be in the title is going to be a main event.
You put the night 1 as the opener then, or the co-main?
For
Roman.
Probably Cody will be the main event. The Sami Zayn match, my guess, is going to be the co-main. That's my guess. That's my guess. And it really depends on Rhea, who she's facing. If you get Rhea versus Charlotte, that's a definite main event match. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there's ways to go there, but yeah, I think they have a couple of options, and I think that they have a way to separate the belts. Whether they strip him, he loses one at Elimination Chamber. Mm-hmm. Or you have two separate belts and I think you shelf Roman for a while. Give him time off.
You could.
The fans
and the whole bloodline really.
The fans would be happy to see a return of Roman later on, right? Can you imagine the pop he'll get if he takes like a 6-month absence and comes back?
Back as a face. No, let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the women's, because that's the last thing we need to chat about. And I really enjoyed this match. I think it had more of a typical Rumble, because you had returns, you had surprise entrants, and a really cool story with not only Rhea Ripley but also Liv Morgan.
This match in general, from start to finish, was better. I think I gave a 10 out of 10 for the men's Royal, and I gave a 12 out of 10 for this, because it just had some extra surprises.
Had some fun storylines in it the whole way through.
I will start out by saying I was most impressed by Liv Morgan throughout the match, more than anyone else.
She finally got the recognition she's deserved for the work she's put in, because she's been so screwed over with the whole Rousey stuff, right? Like, and the whole like, I'm weak, blah blah blah. I'm happy they finally gave her her due.
You've validated her as your top card talent now. You validated her as, and she was the runner-up, right? She was the runner-up, wasn't she? Or
yes, she was.
Yeah, she was.
Asuka fell just before her.
So you look at it that way, and you're like, yeah, she is valid to win another title. She's still young. She's still on she's still in her prime. So realistically, her and Rhea are your top 2 talents, in my opinion, and it shows by going 1 and 2.
One is on each show, which is great.
It's
one's on SmackDown.
Fantastic.
One's on...
That could change depending on
if she goes
what Rhea
Charlotte,
chooses. Yeah. But there were a couple of things that stood out in this match. One being that Dana Brooke was in the match at number 3, threw me off a little bit, but just the fact that you started Liv and Rhea as the first 2 really threw me off. But it gave Rhea that Iron Man streak, right? She was able to Iron Woman streak.
Her knee popped out just as at the beginning too.
Her knee dislocated, and she relocated it herself. Yeah, she said she's gone through a lot of these and she's used to it. But no. And the cool thing is, Rhea and Liv were tag champs, weren't they? Or they were going after the tag champs or something. They were tag champs, and they had a good relationship. And I believe they do have a really good, strong relationship in real life, those two. So really good chemistry in the ring from them in the beginning, and just kind of leading in. But then you kind of didn't see them really touch each other for most of the match. They kind of had their own feuds.
So many women, and they kept so many women in the ring,
which I liked.
Because when it was the men's, it was only like 5 people left. When
I liked that it was just chaos. I liked it. It was exciting.
Nia Jax finally came in at 30. It was like 15 women left. It was insane.
The return of Dewdrop, or should I say Piper Niven, was great. Tamina was in that match, which she had a good showing.
Chelsea Green was awesome.
When Chelsea Green,
she's supposed to be a Karen character, which is going to be, and I hope she's on SmackDown because they need more women. But that's going to be a fantastic. Like, she's going to go right up to Adam Pearce and complain.
Oh yeah,
like tomorrow.
I feel that I wonder if this means we may see a Matt Cardona return at some point. I don't really know. It's hard to say, but I think a lot of people are surprised about her coming back. But she was so fast in and out. She took the new record of.
It was like 5 seconds. I wasn't even,
because Liv had the old record of 9 or 10 seconds, something like that, and now it's her. So I think it was pretty low. That was interesting. Michelle McCool was great to see, but we didn't see any of the legends. Like, we didn't see the Bellas, which we kind of expected. We didn't see Trish Stratus. We didn't see Lita. We didn't see Jazz. We didn't see many of the people that I thought maybe could.
The theme of the night, though, hey, it was more like about the roster, especially the women's side. They really focused on NXT, which was fantastic.
They really focused on NXT. There were 2 interesting things about the Rumble, and that was that the men's side seemed to really want to focus on current talent. And not legends. They didn't need. They had such a. It just shows you they have such a good roster right now. They don't need to bring in people for nostalgia, except for Booker T. That was awesome. I miss Booker T.
That was pretty cool, even though he was like 5. I don't know how long he lasted.
But I like that he came in and did Spinneroonie. I was like, it's good that he got to do the Spinneroonie. And then who was it? Roxanne Perez had a really good showing in the Rumble. I thought
Zoe Stark. So did Indy Hartwell.
Zoe Stark really. She came out and she eliminated like 2-3 people right away. It was really good. So we know we have talent that's coming up on the roster soon, which is really good for the women's division.
Yeah, because like Elba Fry, and I think I'm screwing up her name, and of course there's Cora Jade too.
Elba Fire and Cora Jade, and
Gigi Dolan, and I missed Toxic Attraction. Like, you've got some really good talent that eventually are going to come up, and I think Shawn Michaels is shaking in his boots because he's going to lose all these amazing talents. And I do wonder if Mandy comes back too at some point, but I think that door's still open.
I think that's always, it's been put on the shelf, but I think it's always going to be an opportunity that might be there.
The door's still open. I don't think there's any interest going anywhere else. But anyways, back to the Rumble. Yeah, and I think a bit of a begrowment for number 30, which was Nia Jax. I think it seems like she has her fans and has her detractors.
More detractors than fans, unfortunately for her.
It was cool to see her tribal, her like bloodline gear. That was cool to see.
Yeah.
And then it was cool to see 15 women dump her out of the ring. That was pretty awesome.
I also don't believe Nia Jax is back full time. I don't think.
That was a one-time thing.
I think it may be a one-time thing because they're
selling her merch. So
they're selling her merch. Okay, well, I was just curious because I feel like if I recall, she was with another promotion. So I don't.
I thought she was with Impact too. I
so.
thought, but they're selling merch for her. So who knows, right? Could be.
I know there's a lot of Nia Jax detractors. I'm one of them. I'm not a big fan of hers. She's injured a lot of talent on the roster. She's like taking out people's shoulders. She's messed up their knees. And, with a roster right now where it's thin on the main roster and, they're looking for more talent to come out and they're looking for, you don't really want someone on the roster that's going to hurt others. So I'm a little, and like her in-ring skills are minuscule. Her mic skills are awful. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that are happy. I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that are happy that she's back. I hate to say it, but like, you just don't want somebody who's going to botch things and injure other people because that's, it's an issue. It's an issue.
See, I'm curious about it.
We'll see though. We'll see. And we'll see how she fits into everything.
One thing I was really curious about too is I was so convinced that Damage Control was going to turn on Bayley, but we didn't get that. But I think
I told you.
Right. It's not there yet, but it's going to happen. I think one thing we should, before we get to the winner, which was Rhea, I think we should really talk about, which everyone's super excited about, was we finally got Kana or Asuka. That was fantastic, and I think the selling of her coming to the ring by all the other performers were fantastic. Your thoughts on
she walked out to the ring. She walked out to the ring. Her music hit. I knew she was going to be in the Rumble. It was inevitable. But her music was different. So I knew something before I even saw her. I knew something was a little bit different.
She had the mask the entire way down the ramp too, right?
Cool mask, like way cooler than her face character. Because I think that they are. She's supposed to be heel. Is what I think is the case.
The intention looks like.
So she came out. She's got this cool mask and she pulls it off and she's got that dark side Asuka. They're not going to change her name because, they have rights to Asuka. They don't have rights to
I see. Yeah. So they'll call her Dark Asuka then. Okay.
They'll call her Dark Asuka or just Asuka. But yeah, because they didn't once mention Kana in the match. They just said Asuka the entire time.
So that's probably just her name in NJPW.
I'm guessing it was her name in NJPW and WWE doesn't have rights to it, I'm guessing. So they probably are sticking with Asuka, which is fine. I don't mind either way. New gear. New mask, new face paint, and I don't know about you, but I thought she looked leaner. I thought she looked like she's.
It was a really nice like reboot, right? I felt like she was quite stale on the roster before the Rumble, hence why she was gone for almost over a month. They didn't have her.
Well, people love Asuka. Like I feel like even though she had her downfalls and ups and downs, like the fans love Asuka. Like when she came back against Becky and returned, that was a massive pop.
And she had a big pop yesterday too.
I've always liked her too. She is a little bit on the older side on the roster. I think she's closer to 45, so she's a little bit on the older side of the roster. So we'll see where they can bring her. But her being a heel will be a huge addition to the roster, regardless if she goes to Raw or SmackDown. I'm assuming she stays on Raw.
I hope so. Yeah, it'd be just maybe it's a filler feud for Bianca.
SmackDown's roster for the women is actually filling out now. Like I'm seeing some
If
good
Chelsea
things.
Green goes up there, right? Like that'll be nice.
I'm seeing so much good from Liv Morgan, from Charlotte being back now, without Ronda Rousey on the roster.
Yeah, that was nice to not see Rousey.
It's not nice. It's nice to not see her.
Incredible that like how far she's gone down with the fans. Like it's a bit shocking actually, but I think it seems like she's heading to the tag division.
Yeah, I think so. And I'd like to see that. I'm intrigued with that idea.
Me too.
But even Raquel Rodriguez has improved a lot over the last several months, I think. So I think we're getting a good fill out of the roster now. I think my biggest curiosity probably lies in where do you put Piper Niven, which roster you put Piper Niven in, and where do you put Nia Jax if she does actually return? Where do you put her? Who do you ever feud against?
My biggest question is, who does Rhea face? Who does she pick? Right?
She told us after the match she's not going to tell anybody.
No, but like she in the press conference, it was great. She was like, "I want to face Bianca because we have such good chemistry. But if she beats Charlotte and wins the SmackDown champion, she becomes a Grand Slam champion." I didn't know that, so it makes me wonder if they actually will do Rhea and Charlotte at Mania.
I think we're gonna quickly and slowly start to see the demise of the Judgment Day. Because I think Rhea.
I think they really like the Judgment Day.
Unless they move them over. But
they could.
But what I say is Rhea removing herself from the Judgment Day is more so what I feel like, because I just don't see her being a title holder and still pulling this Dom angle and everything. Like I don't know. We'll see.
See that actually.
But if that happens, she has to stay on Raw. I think because Judgment Day, unless they move Judgment Day. But I mean, the reason why I could see her going to SmackDown against Charlotte is because, well, one, it's Charlotte. If you beat Charlotte, I think you get more recognition, and two, she's a heel and Charlotte's supposed to be a face right now, so it actually does make sense with whatever champion she faces. But I think she has a lot of history with Raquel Rodriguez. And we could see a Rhea and Raquel Rodriguez match later on in the year if that's the route that she goes down. Yeah, SummerSlam, something like that. If that's the route that she goes down. But I feel like if Rhea gets whatever title she gets, she's holding on to it for a while. It's gonna be a long reign.
It was a fantastic 4.5 hour pay-per-view.
We could probably talk 4.5 hours about it, to be honest.
We probably could. And it's funny because there's criticism sometimes of AEW is their pay-per-views go that long, but they held the attention, I think, of the crowd the entire way. But we'll stop there because we don't want to go any further to tire you out, listeners. So thanks so much, everyone, for listening. Please, subscribe to YouTube, give a like, hit the notification button to let you know when we're having new episodes, and please subscribe on our audio side, which is Spotify and or Apple Podcasts. And as I always say, my beautifully bearded friend, thanks for chatting with me.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we'll catch you at the next one.